right, so let's get the circuit started. I'm Nancy McCarthy. This is Lisa Kerr. For those of you who have not been with us, and there's a couple of you that I think that I haven't seen the names of before. So welcome to Coffee with the Councilors. We have an hour of very lively discussion most of the time. I'm going to go through everybody to find out what they'd like to talk about, and then we will go back and talk and see what everybody has to say. We have quite a few in the audience today, so I'm going to start with them. Les, what would you like to talk about?
West Shirley Park. I won't talk about a casino for the Necas.
Okay, so that's Rick. All right. Now, Les Sinclair, let's talk to, what would you like to talk about? Just a minute. It's Les.
I am just here to listen.
Okay. And Lynn, what would you like to talk about?
I'm just here to promote and ask for help with the safety fair.
Okay. And Amy?
I'm just here to listen.
Okay. All right, Diane, it's your turn.
I want to talk about the trees that the city plans to take out on at 579 North Larch.
Okay. And Susan?
I'd like to talk about the supposed or the hopefully the signs that will be placed at beach entrances about litter.
All right.
Well, what? Litter?
Litter.
Litter. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's kind of well.
Jan?
Liquor.
Jan, what would you
So
like?
I would like to talk about, well, I have a question about the possible conflict of interest with Windsor at the First Street Bridge for the future. I'm just curious about how that all works, the process. And then I would like to hear from Bruce about when we are going to get our water report that we asked for on August 1st. And that I think you guys will do a copy of that water report with the different parameters that we specifically asked for.
Okay. And Deb, what would you like to talk about?
You can circle back if I have any questions later. I don't have any pressing issues.
Okay. Hello, I don't know you. Are you Paulette Ramsey?
Yes, I am.
Hi.
How are you? I'm
Real
here to
good.
watch and learn. I'm representing the Breakers Point community. I'm newly elected to the board there, and I volunteered to be the liaison to Cannon Beach and get to know what's going on in the city and inform all the homeowners there. So,
Oh, good. Well, good. Welcome to our coffee. We enjoy having you. Thank you.
thanks.
Jenny, what would you like to talk about?
One thing I'd like to talk about is the RV park. I feel like once again, it's under fire, not necessarily by city council right now, but it's been in discussions once again as some kind of workforce affordable housing. Although I don't think tiny houses are workforce or affordable housing. So I'd like to know, and maybe Bruce, this would just be information you could get together for me or the council, how much money just the RV park brings in lodging dollars, plus the profit that they pay to the city. And I'm also wondering about the gas station. Is it part of the whole escape lodging management, or is that operated and paid for separately? How well does it do? I'm curious if it would even be a viable business if we didn't have the RVs putting in 40 gallons of expensive gas at a time.
Okay, great. All right. Well, that's a big subject in itself.
That's the whole meeting.
Betty, what would you like to talk about? You are
Well,
muted. Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
Am I good? Okay.
Yeah, you're good now.
The one thing that concerns me that is the decal, it's a situation with decals. A lot of signs in town are being covered with decals, and also in-store windows, they're putting a plethora of decals. So I just wondered if we have I know our ordinance doesn't cover it, but I think we need to be aware that, well, one of the things was when we went to Gower Street entrance, the sign that tells children not to play in that water was covered with decals, and some people had their children playing in that water, and my husband told them that was, dangerous water possibly. So I don't know, it's just something we've never talked about, and I thought we'd just become aware of it. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Betsy, what would you like to talk about?
I don't, one of the things that seems like Cannon Beach has tried to do for years is not to have kind of a honky tonk, vibe, if you will. And I just kind of wonder, because we have an ordinance that is often broken, but then it gets fixed, which is if somebody's got outdoor speakers at their restaurant, that you're not supposed to be able to hear it past their property line. And I'm just was kind of wondering, speaking of the guy who stands in the 10-minute parking place in front of the Grill and Scoop, if a conversation's ever come up about amplified music on the streets,
Okay.
and sidewalks.
Hey,
I mean, I went to the music in the park last night. It was wonderful. I love music. I don't want to come on as like some crabby old lady that hates music, but there have been a few times this summer that I've thought, yeah, I don't know about this. It seems a little bit, maybe if it were just acoustical music. But
yeah, you can hear it clear up at my house over by just 4 blocks from north of here or south of here.
Oh,
Yeah.
in the park, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not here to,
I mean, I don't mind it, but
I'm not here to complain about the park. I'm thinking more about just people, downtown Cannon Beach, they've got their amplifiers on, they're playing music. I guess that's okay, but I don't know. It's more like, has the council ever had a conversation about it?
yeah, okay, good. Rudson, I don't have any other name.
Rick Hudson.
What's that?
Hello,
Rick Hudson.
that would be Rick Hudson.
Also known as Rudson, huh?
That's right. Sometimes I'm running. I just wanted to say, I want to welcome everybody to the safety fair on Thursday. Please attend. There's going to be a lot going on, very busy. And to answer one of the questions about the fuel station at the RV park, that's part of our resiliency plan to keep that fuel there. So whatever we do in those conversations, that's a very critical part of infrastructure.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Bye, Rudson.
See you soon.
Okay, great. Well, I guess we only have one new person. I thought we had 2, darn. All right. Okay, so let's get started. Rex, what would you like to talk about on the Les Shirley Park?
Well, I forgot about KMUN has just finished this pledge drive, and if anybody has donated, it's a good time to do it. I noticed that Jan and Jerome were cited for being longtime contributors, and yeah, thank you. 34 years, is that?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so
Plus they need a new generator.
yes, and they made it possible for the signal to be here so we could all enjoy KMUN.
Yeah, yeah. I think they said their generator is 25 years old and it's going to cost $20,000 to replace the generator.
So they did.
Excuse me, I didn't hear what that was. What did he say?
KMUN
Oh, okay.
is doing their pledge drive.
But you should have. Les Shirley Park, we go through it every morning after a walk, and people have often asked, who is Les Shirley? All I can think of is, remember, he's a nice little guy who picked up trash, litter around town. And I think a sign should be posted somewhere about, because we have signs for bugs and birds and Chicago whale and everyone else, but nothing about Les Shirley.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know who he is either.
the city should make a little statement about who this guy was. I mean.
Yeah, I know he was.
Him, we all pick up trash.
He was pretty prominent in the Legion, I think, at one time too. Yeah.
Well, maybe Professor Lindsay could write something up.
Well, we could,
Something to
I
take
think
this
of that.
up, maybe.
We can look into that.
Yeah,
Liz Shirley and Harry Lewis were the men who volunteered to maintain the parks in Cannon Beach. They didn't just do Les Shirley, they did the downtown park for years.
yeah.
Well, that's something maybe that Lisa and I could bring to the council. An idea.
ask them if
Yeah.
they-
I remember, I was just talking to somebody recently about Les Shirley and they didn't know who he was. And I just knew that little bit of,
Yeah,
About
it'd be kind of nice to recognize him for what he was.
Yeah.
If you have a park named for you, people should know who it
know
is.
who you are. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Lynn, you wanted to talk about the safety fair? But
Yeah. hey,
Rudson had already done that. so-
I'll do something else. Oh, okay, so the safety fair is Thursday. It opens at 1 p.m. and goes to 7. We have, I just counted 17 different booths. Now, so, 2 of them are probably CERT, but this is a big deal. It isn't just it isn't rinky dinky. It's they've got, people coming in like Earth Day did, different things. And so I just want everybody to come by. There's going to be hot dogs at 4 to 5.
Okay.
And but just it's a bigger deal than just a couple of tents
And it's going to be where?
at City Park.
At the city park. Okay.
So are there booths from all over the county or?
Yes. I can't tell you where they are. I'm only calling people till. And so I know the power company's coming.
Oregon Emergency Management
He knows stuff.
and Home Depot will have a booth there. Life Flight and Coast Guard.
Okay.
Dart,
What's that?
Dart.
Oh, yeah, our local teams, MRC and Dart and CERT.
And the fire department's coming with all their toys, their rescue toys and their fire truck and stuff.
Tools,
Tools.
rescue tool.
They look like toys.
Taxpayers don't like to hear toys. They like to hear tools.
And are you asking for help? Is that what you're asking for? Volunteers?
Asking for help. If anybody wants to help, we take it.
Okay. How would they who would they get in touch with if they wanted to volunteer?
432-413-0907.
432-413-0907. Okay.
That's for CERT today. It was for blood last week. It kind of gets used for blood.
All over the internet now then.
Oh, it's all over. It's on.
Okay. All right. Diane, you wanted to talk about the tree.
Yes, I think all the members of the council received notification that 2 trees are going to be taken out at 579 North Larch because they have pitch moth larvae in them. And the branches are liable to fall off apparently. But my question is, when the city takes them out, will they take out the stumps too? So they don't just leave stumps in their street? And also we have a pine tree that big globs of pitch are falling off of, and Daryl Johnson, who takes care of it, says that's because of all this dry weather that the pitch rises and then it drops off. And I'm wondering if our trees might be liable to pitch moth larvae, and I don't know how to find out. And then there's a tree in the house south of us, the 540 North Larch, that is obviously stone dead beside another kind of spindly pine. And I wonder if there's a procedure for calling attention to it and doing anything about it.
Is it in the right of way?
No,
Is it?
it's in a short-term rental house.
They would have to do it. I think that'd be a
Yeah, it's
private.
private property. Yeah, city can't touch it.
Trees have been replanted.
Well, oh, yes, and then also the notification said that those trees would be replaced elsewhere, and I'm curious to know where elsewhere might possibly be. On private properties, city properties.
Probably not be on private property, I don't think, but. How do we find an answer? Is that Public Works?
That would be the works, wouldn't it?
Oh, I thought maybe this was something. Appearing magically.
Bruce?
Every year to us.
Roughly.
Next question.
The trees, do you know?
I don't know right now. I could try to find out where they might be replaced.
Do you know if they take the stumps out?
I'll find that out too.
Okay. Yeah, Karen, our Public Works Director, is not in right now. She's recovering from injury. So
How much do we?
Take out.
probably Trevor will know. Bruce will probably get in touch with.
You know that one you're talking about,
When
The
you're,
one on the private property, is it is it vacation rentals or one of those?
Yeah.
Call them,
300,000
call them and tell them that,
and
and maybe they'll contact the owner.
I have gone on the tax rolls, found enough
Good thing.
you're welcome.
about Foxborough.
Yeah, but it's easier just to let vacation rentals or whoever it is, just deal with, talk to the owner and tell them, you know,
So it's totally the owner's responsibility.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. I don't think that's under the purview of code enforcement either, so.
I don't believe so,
I think so.
I'll look into it just in case.
Just, I don't know if it's the same thing, but there's a house on the corner of 7th and Oak that had big globs of stuff on it, and I took a photo and I questioned someone about it, some plant person. And they said these things bore in there and they cause the pitch to come out, but they don't destroy the trees, that they're just to be left. They're
The
fine.
pitch is a natural process that comes out after a limb's been cut, then that tries to
Yeah.
heal itself, and that's
Yeah.
caused the pitch fall.
This is like on the trunk and on branches and things.
Yes.
You might call the county extension office too, because they would know a lot about that. It's an OSU extension service, and if you can't, if the county doesn't have an extension office that they used to, I don't know if they still do or not. You might look under OSU and see who you might call, but it's the county extension, and they do all that kind of plants and agriculture and everything. So they would probably have the answer to some of those questions. But Bruce,
Take photos of
Sorry.
them, send to the extension.
You know, the city has had an arborist come out and look at it.
yeah,
Right. And if it's all over the city or if it's happening a lot, it'd be good to talk to an our arborist and say, what do you do about it?
yeah. Our arborist is under contract, so I don't know. Is there something that this is something Trevor could take care of, or would our,
No, I got information from the arborist report.
oh, okay,
First is that the stumps come out, the stumps come out and they're chipped. And then the hill hole will be filled. Usually we try to plant trees close to where we took them out, but in this case, the space is limited. And so it'll go someplace in either a park or a right of way.
I will tell you that there was a tree this last week taken down in Madison Park because it was damaged and it was liable to fall. And the arborist that did that took it down so neatly, didn't damage the trees around it.
Mhm.
It was just amazing.
I know, you can't even see where
Someone's got
it
a
was.
tree in the stump.
Yeah.
So cute. Maybe it'll take.
Mhm.
should, nursing law. Okay, Diane, does that answer your questions? Does that help a little bit?
Enough, thank you.
Okay. Susan, you wanted to talk about litter signs.
Well, a couple months, I walked in with Deb's beautiful sign that talked about no fireworks on one side and litter on the other. And I suggested that we have litter signs at each beach entrance, and it was agreed, I thought, that they should be made of metal, probably a different size, not, huge like that. And it could be put up. And I just wondered if there was any progress or anything happening on that.
It's interesting you bring that up though, because Friends of Haystack Rock was really on that a couple of years ago. We have a little advocacy committee, and that was a committee I was on or am on. And the idea was to make better signage, at the entrances to the beach. And a lot of people talked to us about who were, in that, like Fish and Wildlife and other organizations. They said they didn't feel like they were that effective. They didn't feel like having another litter sign at the entrance to the beach is going to stop anybody from littering. That they felt like, or one organization felt like a better way to go was to try and get rid of plastics in Cannon Beach, that kind of thing. So, you know what I mean? To go to the source of the problem, or else talk to the people who give you the logs wrapped in a plastic wrapper, and the wrappers always get left on the beach. So they didn't, I mean, I don't know I'm not a public relations person, quite obviously. And, and I don't know what the protocols are now, or if it really makes a difference or not. I mean, I really wanted to see those signs as well. And then, everyone said, well, it's not going to make a difference. I don't know what else to do, what else does, except getting rid of the products that are being dumped on the beach all the time.
It
And
seems like we could do both.
yeah, you could.
It doesn't have to be either or.
Yeah,
And it seemed to help the fireworks situation.
it did, because those weren't just at the entrances to the beach, though. Those were all over town. That was publicized in the Gazette. That was a huge campaign, actually, that Deb made all over everywhere about fireworks. And that's, I think, what contributed a lot to.
Not to mention the enforcement.
Right. I mean, there was everything. We had all this stuff going, much more than just a sign at a beach entrance. And I don't know. It is a problem.
Or your signs that Les and Lynn did, those were really effective. For one side was litter and one side was fireworks, and they were really inexpensive. And if we did those and did a big push to get them out everywhere and just have that be our marketing sign for both, I think that was really an effective thing too. And they could just flip them over after fireworks.
Yeah, and we all had them in our yards. I mean, it was great. I actually made a sign for my yard on Shutterfly that said, "Stop and smell the roses and don't litter." And I put it up there for about a year. I have no idea if it made any difference or people just thought it was nutty. I don't know if it helped.
That's a lot, because I think, what were they? They were like $300 for 50 of them or
They were
something.
like $5 or $6 a piece.
Yeah, see, mine was because a single shot was 20.
Right, so they were very inexpensive compared to the red signs that were.
That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not too late.
Do you
The
know,
other thing that's on the beach,
Pardon?
do you know if there's any progress on those signs?
I wasn't aware that we said that we would put signs up. Now I might just miss it. But,
Talked about it. You may not have agreed to do it.
Well, let's talk about it at council.
yeah,
That's a great idea.
Okay.
It's better than nothing, that's for sure.
Not putting signs in the parking lot here when they're packing up. When they're loading up their cars, pack it in, pack it out. I mean, here's where it begins, right?
Yeah, we're trying to think of a better way of saying it, or a catchier way, because people don't litter doesn't mean anything anymore. It's like people hear it so much.
That's a common.
Yeah, and a lot of the state parks have cool signs too.
we could do something nice, like, don't forget to take your litter.
Amy?
What, is there any possibility of putting trash cans on the beach or right at the beach entrance, the base of the beach entrances or anything? I know that would be state, but I also know that collection would be expensive. But I do know other areas do things like that. They're out of the high tide area, but I wouldn't keep them down there with the winter storms.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem, because the high tide area goes all the way up to the
Yeah.
stairs on so many of the beaches.
Everything.
You'd have a lot of time maintaining.
We have talked about more trash cans. And I don't know where we are on that either.
thought we put some more out. And the ones that we use, it takes the guy a while to make them.
Yeah.
And so, we add several each year, but we're not trying to cover every beach access at this point.
Betsy, you had a question?
Well, I just had a comment about, if people are gonna leave their trash on the beach, I don't think they're gonna not do it because there's a bunch of signs at the beach entrance that says don't litter. I really feel like all of us know that that's not something we should be doing. And there's our garbage cans all over the place. More would be better, I guess. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth, is that it's like, oh, I didn't see a sign about not littering, so I'm gonna leave my Coke bottles and my garbage all over the beach. I mean, that's not how it works.
It's the same as the ones that park on the residential streets. And, oh, they don't want the trash and the doggy poop bag in the car, so, oh, they leave it on your lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're not supposed to do.
one thing I worry about is littering Cannon Beach with litter signs.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit leery of that, but
You know, it's on the beach right now. We had 4 dogs out yesterday. Is dead seagull, dead mirror, dead sea lion, dead, and they're all right where they're being brought up by, and they smell. And I don't know whose job is that to clean that up. Because that should, because that could stress.
Seagulls.
Yeah.
you know, is there any kind of,
Yeah, but it's bad.
is there any kind of, I know the Wildlife Center takes care of the injured animals, but do you know if they take care of
No, they don't.
dead animals?
They don't pick up the.
We leave them where they are.
So I.
Down by Daryl, Dwayne Johnson.
There.
I have occasionally helped with the monthly dead bird count that's been done for years up and down. And we leave the birds once they've been tagged and measured. Because that's part of the records. I can't tell you about dead seals or whatever, but birds, at least officially, have been left in place. And they usually disappear by the next month.
Tight takes.
Part of the
As my dog rolls.
cycle of life.
Yeah, they're not fun.
Another thought about garbage cans at beach entrances or whatever. You know, they have those signs along the highway that people, what do you call it? They adopt a certain mile to pick up litter. Why couldn't people adopt a garbage can? So that city garbage men can't go to every place and pick up the garbage, but if homeowners, local people were to adopt a garbage can.
What do you mean? What would they do with it? You mean empty it?
Well, they'd have to empty it somewhere.
Some of them have to be emptied multiple times in a day.
That's cute.
Yeah. It wouldn't fit in your
Oh,
personal garbage can.
But you know, I think that you might have something there, though. There's a possibility that people could adopt a certain area or a certain neighborhood and pick up the litter in that neighborhood and then put that into the garbage can, not necessarily empty the garbage can, but
It's like Les Shirley.
well,
yeah, like Les Shirley or, or Main City Park or.
Rocky Shores Habitat was doing that, adopt a mile. Where people would adopt a mile of the beach and report on everything going on there.
Right.
And pick up the garbage.
We've all been picking up trash up.
Yeah.
the beach,
Well,
so
yeah.
that's-
On the north side, the walkers pick things
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And we've noticed an enormous improvement in the last year. Since the police have been just driving down the beach and back every day. And I think that's part of it. It's huge improvement. We hardly have to pick up anything anymore.
Or report campers.
And the same way with people with tents down there. We don't get as many of those.
Thank you.
So I think that has been
Yeah.
very effective.
good.
go to Crescent Beach.
Nancy,
Betty, I have a question for you.
Different issue.
You were very involved, especially last year, very vocal about needing to have garbage cans. Have you seen any improvement at all?
So they did put a garbage can at the end of Washington where I live, and it has made a big difference. But I don't know if it's because of the garbage can, but I'm just happy that we have it down here.
Okay.
But I think everybody that does watch the beach that lives here, we do pick up trash. But I think it's mostly visitors that don't, and it's just, I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know. I don't think more signs would help, but I don't know. If I see somebody leaving their stuff, I go, wait a minute, you forgot something.
That's good. That's good. All right.
hey Nancy?
Yeah.
It might be possible to get more garbage cans if instead of, adopting a garbage can and saying we'll empty it, we'll pay for a garbage can in this location.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to do that.
That would be
easy.
That's
Yeah.
We will pay, meaning
Expensive,
the citizens
Get-
will
go
pay?
together.
So if the citizen said, I would like to pay for the garbage can to be in this location, the city would go ahead and pay for continuously to pick up that garbage so somebody else wouldn't have to.
How much
my
do those
God.
cans cost?
I don't know, but they're quite expensive.
Because they make a little house around them. and it-
Because there's a house around them and also they're heavy. So that they don't blow away, they don't wash away.
Oh, they're great. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
They look nice and everything.
Yeah, you can't use just something from,
So you'd have to really either have a lot of money or chip in as a group.
much
to
are
pay
they?
for one.
I don't know. I'll get that answer.
Okay, well, that's an idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Nice. Okay, that conversation is over? Okay.
Maybe we could put our own signage on it too.
Who thinks up the witty sayings? though?
I know, who did that? I
On the
love
top
those.
of the garbage.
Yeah, I love those.
The what?
The sayings on top. of the garbage can.
Actually, I interviewed that guy once.
Yeah.
Was
Oh.
really, when I first moved here, I went around and I was looking at, I would contact the garbage cans to look at the sayings on them.
I interviewed him for another story that I was doing for Coast Weekend, and he was the one that did the sayings, but I can't remember his name. He works out of Portland.
And then Kirk took over with them.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
said a few of his, he didn't know if they would accept them or not.
Yeah. Okay, Ginny wants to talk about the RV park. Ginny, what would you like to say?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that when the topic once again comes up in front of city council, that there's really concrete information about what the RV park contributes to our city budget as well as the community. I feel like often it's just part of the whole amount of what lodging taxes bring in versus I'd like to know separately how much the RV park brings in. And I guess that's really it. I feel like it's always under fire for, something, since it's a big piece of property the city owns. But the city owns other property. They own individual lots around town that have been, I don't know, deeded to the city. Those also could be applicable for some kind of housing, but I just would like real good financial numbers on the RV park when it once again comes up before the city council. And one other thing about the litter, I'm going to give a shout out to Surf Sand Hotel because most mornings when I walk down at the beach, they have an employee down there picking up garbage.
Wow.
Almost every morning, and that Gower Street entrance is one of the junkiest in town. And they don't get enough credit for doing that because I don't think most hotels have anybody doing that kind of thing.
That's great.
Jeannie, I'd like to ask you a question though. I'm curious because I've heard, just on the rumor mill, basically, that people who live over by the RV park are very much against the idea of there being any kind of workforce housing over there. And I guess why is it better to have transient trailers coming in and people who aren't even part of the community, just coming in and going out as neighbors, as opposed to having people who are teachers and firefighters and nurses and, and business people, restaurant.
I think you'd be so surprised, Lisa. Come over and spend a week with me in the summer. When I first moved here, the first people I met were people at the RV park because they're so happy to be here. They're so friendly. They walk our street and they talk, and they come back every year. There's several people that I see 3 or 4 times a year, all 7 or 8 summers, that they've been here because they love it so much. And they're coming and spending money. They're, coming in a big, is it Class A, those, things that cost as much as my house. And they're not transients because they love Cannon Beach as much as we do. And they're great neighbors. You never hear them at night. They're really quiet. The RV park, the police do such a great job driving through. The police are rarely called over there unless it's a medical emergency. Unlike some of the workforce housing, I think that's quite different. I think the police are called there. So I just feel like the RV park is a little gem in our city that most people might not know about. When I bought here, I thought, oh, an RV park, I can't live across the street. I came over several times during the weekend, and before I even bought, I was surprised at what good neighbors they are. So, and they sell Dove bars in case you ever need an ice cream fix.
Yeah, I just wondered if, but I think that people do you think they're thinking about workforce housing, or do they think they're thinking about, Section 8 low income housing, or do you think that, that they're, because workforce housing is like, all of us at one time or another could have easily been in workforce housing because we were in the workforce. If you were a teacher, we're talking about housing for teachers and.
Hey, I bought my house my first year of teaching, so, but I feel like that housing is probably going to end up being more, depending on the size they build. I mean, if it's a tiny home, that's seasonal worker housing. That's not long-term workforce housing. They have to be at least like 700 or 800 square feet to, a couple in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just feel like there's other property in town that would take away the revenue that the RV park brings. Are you guys ready to, scale back the city budget $1 million? Because I don't think you are. I think it would be better to build the workforce housing maybe on the lot in the land behind the RV park, which the city also owns, or some apartments scattered throughout the city so they don't dominate a whole neighborhood. I mean, Bruce, doesn't the city own some lots around town?
I'm not familiar of anything that would be sizable for multifamily.
Even like a duplex?
Be aware that, it's probably about anywhere between 5 and 8 years ago. It's probably more like closer to 8. There was a study done of the city workforce housing potential. And a committee was formed, and I think this was in 2015, right around 2015. A city committee was formed and met for a year and discussed workforce housing and where to put it. And there were very few lots.
Right.
At one time, the committee suggested that maybe the parking lot downtown on Spruce Street could become a site for workforce housing. That was not a real popular idea. And then also they talked about workforce housing on the parking lot at the school, at where the academy is now in Tolovana Hall. That wasn't real popular. And then they came up with the idea of about 10 tiny homes there at the RV park. And then the codes changed, the building codes and fire codes changed. So we just weren't able to do that at the RV park for the type of homes that the committee was looking at. So that inventory has been done. There just isn't that much that the city owns. And then also the county has done an inventory of housing throughout the county. And they're actually starting another inventory in the next few months, I think. So that idea has been looked at and has been explored. Now we're having a meeting on housing, right? And do you know when that meeting is?
I don't.
I think it's in November, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look up.
I agree with Jeannie, though. When you talk about tiny housing, not too many teachers are going to want to live in I think tiny is under 600 square feet.
Yeah, I think it's like 300.
Yeah, it's more like 300. That's not a workforce housing. That's not housing for a teacher or a firefighter, or a couple are not going to want to live in 300 square feet. That is
seasonal workers.
Yeah, that is more like seasonal workers or, a way to house homelessness, but not, I'm thinking more in terms of, 800 or 900 square feet for a couple to live in.
I think if we can redo our short-term rental policy, maybe we could get some workforce housing out of the houses that are now short-term rental houses.
Well, that is, I mean, it is true
It
that
would be a battle, but I think it's a battle worth,
short-term rentals,
working on.
yeah, short-term rentals completely do
They've changed.
interact with the amount of long-term rentals,
Taken
but
away the long-term rentals for people. We never had this problem 35 years ago as much as we do now. And the change has been for short-term.
the problem is, the one problem with that is if some families who are short-term renting their property come down and stay in it for, maybe a total of 6 weeks out of the year, maybe 2 weeks around Christmas, 2 weeks in the spring, 2 weeks in the summer. So if they have it on the long-term rental market, they can't use it. So there has to be, I think for ADUs, obviously that already applies, but I think maybe you talk about going forward, like putting a cap on, that's an idea, is to put a cap on the short-term rental. So people know going forward that if they build with the idea that it's going to be a short-term rental, to think again and figure out another way to do things, like making an ADU above their garage or something that is for long-term. There's so many different things that go into it. It becomes a quagmire, really.
Yeah. Deb?
Will you need the Tolovana Arts Colony area after the school is built? I mean, could that be, because it's just a small meeting place and then the school will serve that.
I'm not even going to go
Yeah,
there.
Cannon Beach Academy uses that facility
I didn't
sometimes.
know
I
that.
think not that often.
Better.
I think they should be able to use it more often myself, but they are using it. And the parking there is, very tough when you, like if you have a garden club meeting, for example, that could move to the school easily, but the pickup and drop off of children would make it very difficult to have permanent parking there.
Yeah.
And maybe the academy will grow, hopefully, and hopefully we'll have more students there and a real, viable
I think
school.
they're at capacity, pretty much. close
Right,
to
because they don't
capacity
need more
now.
room.
Yeah.
But that whole Tolovana building is there and could be refurbished for more elementary school possibly, once the NACUS is done.
Yeah, that's a huge subject.
Yeah. Not something we want to.
15 minutes. All right. I think I am. Oh, Jan, you wanted to talk about a potential conflict of interest?
Yes, with the bridge. So I was wondering, I wanted to ask Bruce, is Windsor the company that looked at our bridge a few years ago and said it was in really good shape? And I remember you and Karen were very happy about the report. Are they the ones that did that report?
I don't think so. No, we've only been working with Windsor probably for the past 2 years.
Okay, so, but is Windsor the ones that said that now our bridge possibly needs to be revamped?
No, Civil West is the one that's doing the work on getting the grant.
Civil West?
Yes. And Civil West has done other work for the city.
Okay, and then if they are the ones that are they the ones that would make the decision about whether we need to just refurbish the bridge or that we would need to do a full new bridge there?
They would make recommendations on it, but the council would make the decision.
The council would make the decision.
Mhm.
And then who, if the work needs to be done, would Civil West be able to do the work, or would they be having a conflict of interest?
It wouldn't be a conflict of interest, but I don't know if we would go. For a project like that, we would probably go out for proposals. Civil West would probably be one of the ones that would make a proposal.
And what about a timeline with this decision as far as recommendations?
And we went through a step that's taken us to this point, and that was just whether or not we could apply. And now we're applying through FEMA. And our experience on things like generators and all that is that it takes a very long time. They won't tell you what the time frame is going to be. They won't stick to a schedule on it. but they'll base their workload, or based on their workload, they will go through the process.
So we got the grant. We know we got the grant.
Now, we got a grant to go to the next step.
Next step.
We don't, there's no grant to do any construction work. I don't even think we're at design yet.
And we don't know yet if it's going to be refurbished or
Correct.
we need a new bridge.
Correct.
But I remember someone you mentioned saying way back when, I don't know if it was Civil West or who, but they said that we would maybe need to make the bridge higher. So that seemed kind of premature to me.
Well, if your issue is water flow, like from a tsunami or something like that, and you want it to last, you would make it higher.
So we're thinking we could do a bridge that would withstand a tsunami.
Not a 9.0. But I'm not sure, Jan, why the bridge that's there, I think the underside, some of that stuff is good, but still it's made out of wood. The bridge is, it's wood pilings. And if we want something that's going to withstand, significant tides, anything like that, it's more likely that you would want to have something like concrete pilings. And also, you don't want something that is in the water flow itself, so that the whole bridge becomes like a drag on the water. And that's what happened in 64, is that it picked it up and moved it.
Right.
And it couldn't have done that.
Afterward.
Pardon?
They built this one afterward with that
Right.
whole scenario
Understood.
in mind.
Understood.
And then they looked at it I think it was just 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And you and Karen were so happy with the bridge, what they had said. So I'm just concerned about our bridge, our village character. I think it all needs to be factored in.
What does?
And it would change the entrance to our town in a huge way if we had a huge bridge there instead of the bridge that we have now.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's talking about a huge bridge, but what happened 3 years ago is they said that from the ground up to the decking, to everything below the decking is in good shape. If we were to have like a huge storm surge and it was going to take anything out, it would take out the upper part of the bridge. But that the concrete pile flowing across, that sort of thing would still be there. That's what they told us back then. But it's still not a, if we were to get a significant, like, for example, when we're talking a tsunami, we don't have to have a local tsunami. If it was a tsunami like it was in 64 from Alaska, but maybe it would be something bigger. That bridge would be trouble for us. And there's another part when you're talking about the height. I don't know how we could get a higher bridge there, because the approaches, in order to get up high, have to start so far back. I think there's room on the south, but not on the north.
That's what we ran into 10 years ago when we looked at it before.
Right.
It would have had to be huge. It would have looked like a highway bridge coming from Cannon Beach right there, which would be horrible.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if to make something significantly higher to withstand distant tsunamis, that sort of thing, I don't know what the ratio is, but say to go up 4 feet or 5 feet or something, it'd be a long path coming in and on the south side too. Make it up high enough to go down.
Yeah, it would not fit the character.
But all those things would have to be considered if we wanted to go ahead and replace that bridge.
Okay, I'm going to cut that conversation off because nothing's been decided about that yet.
But Jan had a water question that she asked.
Yeah, I also got two other people with questions too. Can you talk to Bruce after the meeting about the water quality? Okay. Betty, you had a question about signs covered with decals.
is anybody else aware of all these new decals that are being put on everything in town?
It's like graffiti. It's a form of graffiti.
Yeah, it is. And it's very concerning because it's very difficult to get them off. And I don't think our ordinance deals with them because they're so new. But I also feel like a lot of stores are using them in their windows as signs. And so it kind of scoots under our ordinance that we say one sign, now they have their whole window is covered with decals telling what's inside the store. So I just feel like it's becoming a problem with graffiti kind of issues in town, and also stores taking advantage of that and slipping under our ordinances.
Jason is shaking is nodding his head like there must be some problems here. Can you talk about that?
Well, yeah, the signs fit under state law. It's a cruel mischief, or it used to be called vandalism. But yeah, anytime we get a report of them or we notice them, we call Public Works and they clean the sign up. And it's certainly not easy for them to do, but it's happening. I mean, it's something that happens quite often. And so, yes, we are on that. And then the other one with the windows in the businesses is a code issue. We've talked about it all the way back to, I think in COVID times, we were talking about the signage in windows, and it fits under signage. And so it's something that we'll have to sit down. And we had meant to, I think, when Luke was here as code enforcement, but we've just been so busy. But yeah, we do have a plan to reapproach the businesses and their signage in the windows and get everybody on the same page. But I think that's what we just need to do, is sit down with the ordinance and go through and give everybody a timeline. You need to have your windows cleaned up by this date, and start there and just get the word out.
You know, that can be very dangerous if you're putting decals on some traffic signs. I noticed when I was in Portland the other day that people have put graffiti over some traffic signs up over on the overpasses. And I thought, if people don't know where they're going, that could be really dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we have that kind of a problem.
Not getting that bad yet. Usually it's more political type things or slang that they're putting on them. But the good thing, I mean, it's just the broken window theory. As soon as you see it, call it in and let us know so we can get it removed as soon as possible.
So would they call Daniel or?
No, they can call the non-emergency line.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Betsy, wanted to talk about outdoor speakers on the streets. Decibels that go beyond your restaurant or your shop. What do we do about that?
So I believe when it comes to noise emitted on a public right of way, so let's say it's a musician or something like that, there is a decibel limit. I don't want to say it off the top of my head because I want to be accurate with it, but it is close to 80 decibels at 50 feet. And so we do have a decibel meter. We go out there and measure at that 50-foot distance. And if it's over that limit, it has to shut down. If it's under that limit, it can carry on. When it comes to businesses, they can't have their speakers emitting. I believe it's also a similar 50-foot distance off of the property and onto another property. There's other limitations.
And if somebody is bothered by what they're hearing, can they call you or call a non-emergency number?
I've had it where I've been called personally for those on my work cell. And we've also had a few complain through the online form. That one's a little harder because you can't always get on that one immediately. But you could all stop by the PD and get one of my cards, or you can call the non-emergency line and that'll be dispatched out.
What is the number for the non-emergency line?
2811 436-2811.
I have it on my speed dial.
Oh, we know, Lisa.
It used to be that you weren't supposed to have the noise go beyond your business.
Yeah, that was what I thought it was too. Are you
No.
50 feet? I mean, you could be
That's
walking.
too far.
You could be walking by Bill's Tavern and be listening to the music that's coming from the speaker at the Driftwood.
Yeah.
50 feet's pretty far. I am with Rex in this one.
Yeah.
I thought it was beyond the property line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was supposed
And I don't know how the people that live next to the garden survive.
Oh, God.
I mean, we call whenever it gets too loud at our house. It's lots of evenings, we sit on the porch and have music along with the downtown. You know, and downtown's filtered enough, it's not, you know, loud, but. Yeah, the gardens, I don't know how they live, people live on that farm.
Yeah, let's look at the noise ordinance because
Yeah.
that used to be.
Yeah, yeah,
You should call that magic number.
yeah, there you go. Deb?
Did we get the numbers on the RV park for Virginia? So on the, because I saw Lori come in, so I guess circle back.
Yeah. I don't have the numbers for the tourism lodging tax, but the RV park generates $2.5 million in revenue. And for the past 2 years, the city has moved $300,000 into the general fund reserve
Per year,
per year.
and that's after paying the facilitator of the,
Right.
okay.
And then there's also a reserve for the RV park, so that it gets funded also.
But is that in addition to the lodging taxes that we also get?
It's in addition to the lodging taxes. And I'm not, I need to check to see how that works, whether or not it's included in the fee or not.
So in addition to lodging tax.
Not sure.
Not
Right.
sure.
Right.
Okay, so don't write that,
Yeah.
though I know. Okay. And one other question I had. Go ahead, somebody,
Oh, no, I'm just,
Oh.
I'm just, wait, I'm not too good with math, but Bruce, if it generates $2,500,000, is that what you said, or $300,000?
250. Yeah, I'm sorry, no, 2.5 million.
2.5 million, and the city gets $300,000 of that?
no, they move it.
We move it from their reserve to our reserve.
What happens the rest of it?
That doesn't, can you explain what that
Where's the
means?
rest of the money?
Goes into expenses.
$2 million?
$2,200,000 goes into expenses?
And they,
I don't have,
We got some wrong numbers. How's that?
can you explain who pays the expenses? Is it the city that pays the expenses or is it the?
we pay Escape Lodging. Escape Lodging pays the bills. We reimburse Escape Lodging for the bills.
So we're paying $2 million to get 300,000 in revenue?
No, that's not, we are doing it, but we're not doing it just to get the $300,000. It generates enough funds that we're able to take money out of it.
It'd be great if we could see it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I think that verbally it just doesn't translate.
Sure.
very well.
Yeah, I was just trying to get answers.
Yeah, I'll write about it yet. One other question, as I'm doing an article on Maury Clark and Coaster Construction's 50 years. And I thought, okay, so there's Maury Clark and he built really the foundation of Cannon Beach with a vision of loving Carmel. And where did the village character, was that village character what he did in developing Cannon Beach, the foundation of Cannon Beach? And where did the village character come in? Because I don't know, is what he produced village character? It's interesting. I just started thinking about all of that. And, you
We
know,
have a lot of characters in this village.
so how did it go from Maury Clark and, all the downtown Cannon Beach, which we all benefited from? It's gosh, we owe him a lot. I mean, and then Coaster has continued on with that quality of, but their houses, the village character, there's a dissection there somewhere.
But did Coaster do it? Did Coaster create it or was Coaster responding to a city want? In other words, if
Maury Clark was Coaster that continued through the family.
no, but what I'm saying is, did Coaster come up with the idea? Did they create village character or were they building to respond to what the city
Well,
wanted?
that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah. I don't know the answer.
I don't see just village character in what they did back in that day.
I think my impression is, and I could be completely wrong, Betsy might know, or somebody who's lived here a lot longer than me, was that they responded to
Right.
Maury Clark's vision, I think.
Right, because if
I agree with Nancy.
Yeah.
if Cannon Beach had said they wanted 5-story buildings, then maybe Coaster Construction would have produced 5-story buildings.
Just talk to Peter Lindsay. He knows everything about this town.
Peter Lindsay?
Peter Lindsay, yeah.
Well, he has one perspective, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, he doesn't, well, anyway.
Well, if they build some incredibly beautiful homes that are quality craftsmanship, and I mean, what they've done in maintaining that vision and from all those years ago, I mean, it's just like, wow, they're the foundation of this town.
Well, yeah, but if someone pays them to build a very nice quality craftsmanship house, they're gonna build it.
Yeah, but I mean, they go further back into what downtown was. I mean, downtown was Coaster, all of it.
Built by them, you mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they
Fix the
envision
village,
it.
build a village.
Yeah.
Okay, it is 11, it is a little after 11 and our coffee is getting cold. So it's time to adjourn this coffee with the counselors and we will see you again next month. Third Monday of the month, 10 a.m. We'll see you here.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for
guys.
coming.
Bye-bye.
If you'd be all right with it, I'd just like to take a second to
Okay.
clarify on the noise ordinance. So I was just going off of what was a rough remembrance of it. So from a property, noise emitted on a property, it's measured at the boundary line of the property. And between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m., that is a 60 decibel noise limit. And it is the same noise limit for noise emitted on public rights of way, so sidewalks, the street, but that's measured at 50 feet.
And that's even vehicles too, like when somebody has their stereo too loud, if it can be heard over 50 feet, then they can be,
Or they don't have a muffler on their motorcycle.
you be bopping around.
We can't have a big dance party after 10.
You can,
You can?
but you
Next time, Jason will show up. Parties at 10 o'clock.
I've been contemplating that.
For the rumors we could start.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for coming. I will see you next month.